in his face. In his face. In his face.
Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge, found glory across the wall. The waters of the Delaware. And seized victory. The Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge, found glory across the water.
All right, I'm here. You may have been hearing some audio while you were waiting. That was me trying to see if my headphones were working, but they weren't, so I'm going to not use them. Hopefully you don't hear the audio playing through my on my microphone once I play this video. But before we get there, how's it going? So this is the morning twit. I was going to call it the morning twit in my title, but I feel like nobody would know what I'm talking about if I did that. So basically, it's just me going through Twitter. And I'm going to take super chats afterwards. Right now, I'm live streaming on YouTube and on Twitch. So I got all the bases covered. The Twitch audience is tiny right now, but I like it. It's nice and cozy in there. 12 people watching. Good afternoon, Magitism, a moderator. All right. So yeah, I'm going to be going through some of these. You see my tabs here. Going through some of these tweets and then taking some super chats. Someone said no audio and it threw me off. There's definitely audio coming out of my microphone. Yeah. All right. Let me start. So, AOC. All right. This is a tweet that went out today. It has to do with, actually, I maybe should, let me go to Trump first, because this is, I think it makes more sense for me to get to Trump first. Here we go. So, 4th of July parade yesterday. I'm not sure how many of you paid attention to it. I didn't really pay attention to it, but I saw some things happening, and I want to share. Like this clip here. So this is going to be Donald Trump in his speech during this 4th of July celebration. And I mean, you see the quote here, but let's listen to this and try to make sense of what the hell he's talking about.
In chief, the Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge, found glory across the waters of the Delaware, and seized victory from Cornwallis of Yorktown. Our Army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. And at Fort McHenry, under the rocket's red glare, it had nothing but victory. And when dawn came, their star-spangled banner waved defiant. In chief,
All right, I'm gonna play, yeah.
The Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge, found glory across the waters of the Delaware, and seized victory from Cornwallis of Yorktown. Our Army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. Our Army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts.
This is where the problem starts. What is this? Right here. There's like 3 sections that I need to go over.
Our Army manned the airport. It ran
our Army manned the our Army manned the what?
Our Army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over.
And then it ran the ramparts. Rand Paul. It ran the ramparts.
It ran.
That's definitely Rand. I mean, people are saying he said rammed.
It ran the ramparts.
That's Rand.
It took over.
And then the part that obviously is the most the most glaring issue with this entire part of the speech.
It took over the airports. It did everything.
Took over the airports. Took over the airports in the 1700s. Took over the airports. If like any other president did this, if it was like George Bush, even, who'd said a lot of dumb shit, people would be wondering, are you okay? 25th Amendment. I mean, this is some crazy shit. Did he read this? Was this in the actual speech, or did he ad-lib here?
It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. and at Fort McHenry.
Took over the... So as you can see, doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's go to raw story here. All right. Yeah. The army did not retake the airports from the British during the Revolutionary War. I think that. So here's their quote. What is it? This doesn't make sense. Or his quote. So they're saying he said okay, our army manned the air. It rammed the ramparts. He said Rand. I know he said Rand. You heard it. Unless I have a hearing problem, which is possible, but I heard Rand. Took over the airports. Yeah, in 1775, there were no aircraft, nor were there airports. Trump didn't deviate from his prepared remarks, so it's unclear if that was in the prepared remarks or if he lost his place on the teleprompter. Yeah, I don't even know. This is why I don't cover Donald Trump, rarely ever. Because it's like, what do I do with this? Doesn't this just speak for itself? I should just be able to play a clip. I'd be like, hey, David Dole here for the Rational National. Let me play a clip of Donald Trump. Okay, you saw that clip. That's the end of the segment. I mean, it should speak for itself. What do I add to this? This is who the president is. I don't understand. I still don't understand why there aren't, millions of people in the streets trying to get Trump out. I mean, what the hell are the Democrats doing? Like, it's insane. Can you imagine a Democratic president as fucking stupid as Donald Trump? He has problems. He has serious problems. Like, that's the issue here. He should not be in this position of power, obviously. But there's barely any movement on impeachment proceedings or even like even the discussion. It was like a discussion for a bit when the Mueller report came out and there was discussions about obstruction of justice and everything else. I mean, on top of that, emoluments clause, 25th Amendment. I mean, there are really so many conversations that should be ongoing, but it's like the conversation ends and we never get back to it. So yeah, that's all I got to say about him. But let's go to AOC's tweet here. Trump spent millions on a poorly attended one-day parade days after saying he couldn't afford toothpaste and soap for caged children. Did he ask Congress for military parade money? No. Trump held these kids hostage to secure billions for their abusers. Congress needs to see that. Yeah. So this shows you how screwed up the conversation is. It's funny, politicians only get asked questions about, oh, how are you going to pay for this? If it's helping people, if it's healthcare, if it's education, how are you going to pay for this? When it comes to bringing tanks to a parade and to a speech that doesn't make any sense, no questions, nobody bats an eye, doesn't matter. Just the whole conversation's completely broken. All right. I want to go to, I'm going to end, by the way, stick around. I'm going to end on one of the greatest Twitter threads of all time. I mean, for me anyways. Okay, let me just bring it down a bit. One of the greatest Twitter threads of this year. It is a fantastic thread. I will get to that in a minute. But let's go here now. Justin Amash. He has now declared his independence. Justin Amash, Republican congressman, is now an independent congressman. But this is the thing. This guy is incredibly conservative. Agrees with the Republican Party on everything, except he recognizes, or at least publicly recognizes, unlike everybody else who also recognizes but doesn't say it publicly has recognized how Trump is a buffoon. And yeah, how there should be impeachment proceedings. So don't we're at risk here of giving this guy too much credit when he doesn't deserve it, and likely he's doing a lot of this because he knows this is a way to raise his own profile. So I just want to make sure that's clear. But that said, let's read a little bit through this. So Amash urged by conservative to run as third-party candidate. So on top of him being independent, he's now being urged by a conservative. I guess we'll see who that conservative is in a minute, to run as a third-party candidate against Trump, even if it cost the GOP the election. All right, so who are we talking about here? Conservative columnist Matt Lewis. All right. So Matt Lewis claims no longer called himself Republican. Okay, so Matt Lewis also is no longer a Republican, but still a conservative. Delighted that Amash announced his own declaration of independence from the GOP on the 4th of July and said it gave him hope that it could bring about a sea change among fellow conservatives. I don't think so. I mean, Amash was already doing this before he became independent. He was already out there talking about Donald Trump and his obstruction and how we need to move forward impeachment proceedings. He was already doing that, so why would him going independent now force other, I mean, maybe conservative columnists, but not conservative lawmakers. I mean, Republicans are going to stay Republicans for the most part. All right, so yeah, I don't want to go all through this, but basically, I guess the argument here is he should run against Trump on a libertarian ticket or independent ticket, which we assume would take off maybe some votes from Trump. But really, the Republican Party, I think is, 80, 90% support of Donald Trump. So yeah, Amash is going to take like Morning Joe's vote. Cool. But everybody else, all the other conservatives will be voting for Donald Trump. So I don't really necessarily think this is going to, if he did that, would impact anything. It would take over the news cycle though, because they love this shit. So if there is a conservative out there standing up for real conservative values, just like what the Republican Party has been doing the entire time, minus the insanity of Donald Trump. So if that's all Amash is, just the exact same platform, but without the crazy face, yeah, that's enough to fool or at least take over mainstream press for a bit, or at least cut out a narrative for himself to allow himself to maybe gain some support through that. But again, who are these people? Who are these conservatives that don't support Trump? They are millionaires. They're people on television. So I don't see how this is going to really catch on. But you can imagine a scenario where you have Trump and, let's say, Bernie Sanders, but then you have Amash and oh my God, I forgot his name, and I'm really proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself for forgetting his name. The Starbucks CEO guy. You know what? I'm not even going to look it up. That's how much I've done countless videos on him, but his name is now escaping me, and I'm not going to give him any airtime. But you can imagine a scenario where you have Trump, Bernie, Amash running as independent, and Starbucks dipshit running as independent. So in that scenario, I think it's clear that a Bernie Sanders would win, but I'm also making a lot of assumptions here, assuming Bernie would win the nomination, assuming these guys would run. But just imagining a scenario like that, I think is a potential, because both the I was gonna say mainstream, but the media, or the corporate versions of the Republicans and the Democrats, both don't want, one doesn't want Trump, one doesn't want Bernie. So you can imagine a scenario where they each kind of pick their own independent candidate and maybe get some traction, but I don't really see it making any real meaningful impact. All right. 2 more tweets here before I get to. So I'm going to be taking super chats. I'm going to be checking the Twitch chat to see what's going on there and all that fun stuff. I forget what this is. Yes. Yes. This lady, we'll get to her in a second. So this QAnon believer at the 4th of July parade thinks JFK Jr. might reveal himself today. That was yesterday. I've been checking the headlines. I haven't seen anything about JFK Jr., so I'm going to assume he did not reveal himself. But it would be wonderful if he did. Their QAnon fans have said they'll wear JFK Jr. masks today. Take a look at this shit. Look at this. What the hell? This QAnon stuff is still going strong. And they got more coming. They got the JFK Jr. shit going on now. I mean, this does not exist to the extent that it exists on the right, on the left. There is no version of this on the. Are there Bernie supporters that are pushing out conspiracy theories like this? No, this is not a thing. So I bring this up because look, you all know this, but the both sides argument comes up from people like Meghan McCain, from Joe Scarborough, MSNBC, CNN. Both sides. Oh, both sides are equally bad. No, one side is batshit crazy, and they have their person in power. The other side has no power. The entire media is constantly against them, even though they're correct on the facts and they actually want to help people. I mean, there's not even a comparison here at all. This lady is fucking crazy, and everyone else like her are fucking crazy. They are brainwashed people. These people have problems. I mean, look at the guy behind her. He totally knows. Like, look at the look he's giving. Oh, everybody around these people now. Look at this guy with the shorts. Get the fuck out of here. People are nuts. It's just like, what do you do at this point? I mean, if people like this are in your family, and I'm sure there are people in my chat right now where you have someone like this lady in your family. I never had to deal with this in my family. Growing up, nothing to this extent. So I do not know how you deal with it. I don't know if you can save them. I don't know if this all goes away if Trump loses the election. Like, where were these people before? Trump didn't have all that much support when he started his campaign in 2015. So where was this lady before that? She wasn't like this before, but she was somebody. Millions of people just like her were somebody before Trump came along. So is it possible that they can jump off the Trump train once he loses and he has no more power and he's not on television all the time? I hope, but it's unclear what's going to happen with these people. All right. I said I would end on my favorite Twitter thread, and I would. Let me just quickly, and by end on, I mean end these stories. I'll be taking chats after this. I just want to see how the, oh, look at that. Twitch is still going. 22 people. Hey, Twitch people. So if you missed the beginning, I'm live streaming on Twitch and on YouTube right now. I'm all over the place. But, oh, cool. Someone else. Pagan Beer. Thank you for your bits on Twitch. Very cool. I'll have to check all the stuff afterwards to see if I missed anybody else in terms of like subs or anything. But all right. Let me get to this thread. All right, here we go. I read this the other day and I could not stop laughing. Almost all of these, or really all of these, are perfect. I retweeted one of them, as you're going to see, but they're all perfect. So this is a thread from Jack of All Trades. I now present to you the 2020 Democratic candidates as drill tweets. Let's check these out. Joe Biden. These are all hilarious. I just want to make sure I get the whole quote. What the hell just happened? Okay. I guess we'll just read what's in these quotes. So this is Joe Biden. Top complaints I'm working on. And by the way, understand, these are all tweets from long before. These are random drill tweets. Top complaints I'm working on. The racism, of course. Posting the same shit over and over again for years. Not posting enough of the classic shit. That's totally Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders. I'm the only guy who knows how to call out the bullshit of society the smart way, and against all odds, I do it for free. Yeah, that's Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren. Ask me anything you please, as long as it's about my ambitious plan to build a castle in the jungle for the apes to live in, called Ape House. I don't even necessarily know if this applies to Elizabeth Warren, but sure. I mean, in terms of her ambitious plans, or her detailed plans, yes. Kamala Harris. Reminder to all my female cop followers that I worship female cops daily. Of course. Beto O'Rourke. Waiter, I would like to pay my bill. In Spanish. On pieces. In coins. Oh my God. Cory Booker. Emotionlessly. Tacos is Spanish for food. Okay, that one's maybe a little more random than the other ones, but I like it. B. Buttigieg. Attention all cops on Reddit who have murdered people. Was it awkward? What gun did you use? Did you get a promotion? Oh my God. Amy Klobuchar. I would love to brutally kick the ass off of anyone who tries to be nice to me or be my friend on here. Yeah. Kirsten Gillibrand. The famous time-tested classic, the Philly cheesesteak, has become sexualized by greed. Okay, I hadn't read all of them. I think I did not read this one. I don't really know if that perfectly applies to Kirsten Gillibrand, but that's a funny tweet. John Delaney. I retweeted this one because I could not stop laughing. John Delaney. Go ahead. Keep streaming. Shut the fuck up at me. It only makes my opinions worse. I love that tweet. And really, you could apply that to so many people. Tim Ryan. I believe labels are pointlessly divisive and have no proper place in our society, but I'm pretty much basically a jock and not a nerd at all. I could have retweeted that one too. That's one of my favorite ones. That. Okay, let's keep going. Michael Bennett. The infamous millennials are more interested in consults notepad being nickeled and dined by the tax man than Squints distilling vinegar. Oh my God. Eric Swalwell. Just sold 1,000 guns to Congo in my most radical act of self-care to date. I mean, he's the gun guy, so yeah. Bill de Blasio. Going to New York disguised as the mayor, so when the cops turn their back on me, I can jack off. That one's almost too literal, because the cops did turn their back to the mayor. Jay Inslee. To the man in the forest dressed up like a traffic cop, giving all sorts of unauthorized directions and disrupting harmony of nature. Fuck you. Yep. Climate change, dude. Julian Castro. Whoa. You can say, Houston, we have a problem in messy situations that have nothing to do with astronauts or Texas. This changes everything. Okay. The Texas connection I get, I don't really know how else that applies to Castro. Hickenlooper. I like to sincerely apologize for being a beady-eyed little fuck freak. I'm hell's shit. I'm dog shit's ass. Brand me with a hot iron. Sorry. Holy shit. These are funny. Tulsi Gabbard. Nerd with lame attitude. North Korea is bad. Me. Have you ever lived there? Nerd. His glasses fall off. Me. Catch you later. Andrew Yang. I'm developing a groundbreaking new app called Money Wallet, where you earn money points by mailing cash to my house. Holy shit. Okay. Oh, Marion Williamson. I know this one was funny. I forget what it was. Let us read it now. Quote, if there's a spicy brown mustard, why not a spicy brown ketchup? The wise man smiled. My friend, the condiment you seek is barbecue sauce. I guess that goes to Marianne's kookiness. I like Marianne, though. I'm not going to lie. I think she's all right. I think she's a good person. I don't think she'd be president, but I think she means well. Bonus round, Mike Ravel. Reading my revolting tweets to a focus group for several hours and escaping on a sled pulled by rats when it is time to pay each of them $25. Okay. That was great. That was great. Again, Jack on the Cob. That's a great Twitter name. Jack on the Cob. Check out that Twitter thread. Retweet some of that stuff. It's too funny. All right, I was going to do a little more scrolling through Twitter. Let me see if there are any chats, any super chats as I dry my tears from laughing so hard. All right, so I'll check. There are some super chats. All right, I have to go deep. I have to go deep into this friggin' crap again. Every time. It's so hard to find where super chats are. I mean, YouTube buries. There should be a button for creators like right beside the chat to be like, go here to see super chats. But that's not how it works. You have to dig. As I drink my iced coffee. Didn't want to go there. I could read those tweets every day. Whenever I'm feeling down, I'm going to read those drill tweets. All right, I got some super chats. The Scared Shadow. Did you see Joe Biden's interview on CNN today? I did not. Let us do a little search. Joe Biden. Maybe it'll come up. Is this the one about where Biden's talking about, man, I forget what it was now. If it's not in Twitter, I'm not going to be searching too much harder for it. Unless it pops up right here. Oh, yeah, that's right. Joe Biden says he wasn't prepared for Kamala Harris to confront him the way she did. Let's see what this is. See if there's a clip here.
I was talking with you and Jill. You said you were expecting to have a target on your back, but the intensity of some of it. Did you see the questions about your past positions from the perspective of race being as relevant as they are?
No, and I don't think they're relevant because they're taken out of context. And what I didn't see is people who know me. I mean, they know me well. It's not like if somebody just came out of the blue, didn't know anything. But it's so easy to go back 30, 40, 50 years and take a context and take it completely out of context. And I mean, you know, I get all this information about other people's past and what they've done and not done. And, you know, I'm just not going to go there. If we keep doing that, I mean, what we should be debating what we do from here. For example, this whole thing about race and busing. Well, you know, I think if you take a look, our positions aren't any different, as we're finding out.
With Senator Harris, who said she sees it as a tool, not a must in all circumstances.
Yeah, well, look at my record.
But I don't think busing is about policy, Mr. Vice President.
No, it's not.
I think it was about principle. When you look back at your record on it, you were not in favor of busing. It was a different time. There were different applications. Why not just own it and
by
say,
the way, here's the thing,
I was
Chris.
against it, but
No,
now I've changed.
I was in favor of busing that was de jure busing. That is, if a court ruled that there was a law passed or circumstance that a county, a city, a state did that prevented black folks
He's
from being
talking about
somewhere,
states' rights
then
when it comes
that's wrong.
to
You should
fucking
bus. I even went so
segregation. Like, are you
far
kidding me?
in the middle of that busing controversy was saying I use helicopters
local rights,
if that
I
was
guess.
necessary to make the point.
Same difference
And we really got in a town meeting that got very hot. But what the issue is now is, for example, and it was then, voluntary busing. We supported it. We supported it then. And by the way, Barack and I, as president and vice president, we provided money for voluntary busing if cities want to do it.
I'm not questioning any of that.
No,
I'm
no.
saying that when you look back in the 70s, you said, I think busing doesn't work. It's an asinine concept.
Well, by the way,
you tried to pass bills that weren't for it.
Busing did not work. You had overwhelming response from the African American community in my state. My state is the 8th largest black population in the country as a percent of population. They did not support it. They did not support it. Look, the question is, how do you equalize education in every area? And I put forward the most the most aggressive plan to do that, and I've been pushing it for a long time. For example,
he thanked
Title I schools at disadvantage
for supporting.
I propose we go from $15 billion a year to $45 billion a year. We should bring people in and have preschool from 3, 4, 5 years old before kindergarten. We should have every child out there. Every child out there
why
is
he's
capable,
even defending the position.
But
It's okay to say you were
circumstances
wrong.
that make it difficult. By the time they get to school, they've heard 3, 4 million fewer words spoken. They're at a disadvantage.
I totally accept all of it.
That's number one. But number two,
I'm not listening to 14
the idea right now, 65 out of 100 jobs in the study I did for the president point out you need.
Biden's still trying to position himself against Trump. He's the bully that I knew my whole life. Yeah, we all know. But honestly, calling Trump a bully is almost giving him too much power. I mean, obviously he has all the power, but in terms of like, he's an idiot. Trump is a total fucking idiot. He's just a horrible person in every way. And on top of that, he is a total idiot. He's not... Bullies at least have some confidence when it comes to these fights, but Trump just runs away. Like the way Trump is a master at avoiding answering actual questions, but he's only a master at it because he's never directly pushed on anything. He's allowed to escape. Like you saw, I'm thinking, what was it now? Where Trump was asked about something. And this is every question basically, but he responded, this is recently, he responded to something that was so overtly, like it was so obviously wrong, what he had just said, but the journalist questioning him pretends that Trump is just like a typical politician and just moves on to the next question. You can't do that with Trump. You have to, it's obvious he doesn't know anything. Well, I think it was actually about busing. So Trump talked about how, busing is a good way to get to schools. It was just like, it was such a manic answer. It didn't make any fucking sense. And the journalist was acting like it was all just normal. You can't treat Trump that way. Oh yeah, there's also comments about AOC. See if that's clipped somewhere. I think Biden said something about no, it's gonna be here. I assume. It's not in this screen. Here we go. All right, let's watch this clip. This is always
you
fun.
versus the rest of the field. On the economy, they're all going big. 70% tax rates, free college, re-architecture of the economy, a forgiving debt for college, which happens to be the biggest asset on the American government's balance sheet. You do not believe in those things.
I don't believe in the way they're doing that. For example, I think there should be health care for everyone. I have a plan how to do that that's rational and will cost a hell of a lot less and will work. In terms of...
Too incremental?
No, it's not incremental. It's
bold. Would you bring back the individual mandate?
Pardon me?
Would you bring back the individual mandate?
Yes, I bring back the individual mandate.
Think that'll be popular?
Well, it's not. Yes, now it would be compared to what's being offered. And here's the deal, Chris. We're in a situation where if you provide an option for anybody who, in fact, wants to buy into Medicare for all, they can buy in. They buy in, and they can do it. But if they like their employer-based insurance, which a lot of unions broke their neck to get, a lot of people like they shouldn't have to give it up. The flip of that is, if you don't go my way, and you go their way, you have to give up all of that. And what's going to happen when you have 300 million people landing on a health care plan? How long is that going to take?
What's it going to do? The fuck are you talking about?
And in the meantime, a lot of people are going to be in trouble. In terms of the economy, Chris, I've been proposing for a long time. And
there's just no facts when it comes to this
I know I'm
conversation.
middle-class Joe, I get that part.
It's complete, total What, people are just going to have no health care? No, it's replaced by Medicare for all. Like, this is the thing. Any attack on Medicare for all, I notice this every time. There is never an honest critique of Medicare for all. There is never an honest attack. The attacks are always framed at some basis of bullshit. There is never an actual critique of Medicare for all on the actual facts. Never. It's always something, people are going to lose all their private insurance, and it's going to be replaced by better insurance that has no out-of-pocket expenses, that allows them to leave their job if they want to leave. Maybe they don't like their job. Maybe they want to start a business. You can now leave that job and not fear losing health care through your employer because now you have Medicare for all. I mean, that's just one benefit. There are countless benefits to a Medicare for all system. People are not going to lose their health care and have no health care. It's being replaced. Every attack on Medicare for all is utter crap. But let's see if he makes a good one. I highly doubt it.
Man, I'm sophisticated. Man,
can I speed this up?
The middle class built this country. You didn't have Wall Street build this country, and how'd they do it? You gave people a chance. You allowed them to maintain their dignity. And how'd they do it? How can you have dignity without having health care? How can you have dignity without having access to an education? How can you have dignity unless you can live in a neighborhood that's not fouled by the environment and what's going on?
How do you convince the party that these more advanced ideas, like all in on Medicare for all, that matter to them?
Advanced.
They're popular in the party.
Well, by the way, watch. That's what this election is about. I'm happy to debate that issue and all those issues with my friends, because guess what? Again, look who won the races. Look who won last time out.
Donald Trump fucking won, you dipshit. Donald Trump won because Hillary wasn't offering any of this shit. Hillary was you, but a female version. Holy fuck, are you stupid?
We had, and by the way, I think Ocasio-Cortez is a brilliant, bright woman, but she won a primary. In the general election fights, who won?
Claire McCaskill lost. Who else lost? Joe Donnelly? Didn't Joe Donnelly lose? Didn't someone else lose? I have a whole list of people that fucking lost the election in 2018 that were moderates. Let me look up my list. Great, now I can't find it. But you have McCaskill, you have others, you have Donnelly. Like, the idea that moderates won in 2018 when people mainly came out because they hated Donald Trump, that's mainly the reason people came out to vote. I don't see if I could find this. So John Tester's the only moderate, so-called moderate that won. And he has like a working class appeal. So I understand John Tester winning. Heidi Heitkamp. Lost. McCaskill. Lost. Donnelly. Lost. These were major races. They all lost. I mean, what are you talking about, Joe Biden? Here we go. There's more. Joe Donnelly, Indiana, lost. Phil Bredesen, Tennessee, lost. Heidi Heitkamp, North Dakota, lost. Claire McCaskill in Missouri, lost. All centrist corporate Democrats that lost their elections trying to appeal to conservative voters. We can play this game all day. Can you pull out some people who had less money than the Republican in the race and maybe were not supported by the Democratic Party because they were too progressive and then lost their elections? Yeah, you can pull some of those out. But understand, the fight is not the same as a fight when a corporate Democrat's in it. A corporate Democrat has all the money, all the institutional support behind them. Progressive Democrats do not. So when a progressive Democrat actually wins a race or actually wins a primary, like when AOC beat, why am I forgetting his name? When AOC won her primary, she had 1/10 of the money behind her than her primary challenger did. So this idea that, all these races are exactly the same, or just on the ideas the progressives are losing. No, progressives don't have the money behind them. I mean, ultimately, that's the problem here. So comparing these races is just complete bullshit. But let's get back to a little more of this. I just want to see
mainstream Democrats who are very progressive on social issues and very strong on education, healthcare. Look, my North Star is the middle class. When the middle class does well, everybody does well.
How do you do better for them economically, if
Number-
not with these 70% tax rates?
Well, three things. One, I do raise the tax rate to 39.5%. I do, in fact, eliminate the ability for them to write off capital gains the way they do now. I would raise billions of dollars, raise the corporate tax rate from 20 to 28%. It was 36 to 28%. That raised billions of dollars.
Trump will say, but that's what brought the economy up to where it is those tax.
Joe Biden doesn't even want to raise the corporate tax rate to where it was before Trump took it down. He wants to put it back in the middle. This is the perfect example of what these sorts of Democrats do. They lose on an issue, and instead of going back to where it was before when they have power, they only go halfway. They're always giving in to the right on every issue. I mean, he just spelled it out for you how they do it. Enough of this. I'm sure there's a lot of this I could potentially go through, but it's the same argument we've heard a million times. Oh, centrism, moderate politics is the way to go. Even though Democrats lost 1,000 seats over 8 years under Obama and Nancy Pelosi doing that, they lost the election to Donald Trump. That should have been the sign right there. But no, still, you know what we didn't do last time in 2016? We didn't try to appeal to those conservative voters. That's all Hillary Clinton did. That's all her campaign was. And she still lost. Republicans are going to vote for Donald Trump. You have to get out a base of people, 40% of which don't even vote ever. You have to get those people out to vote, and you can do it by actually appealing to them with bold, progressive ideas and a politician that they know they can trust, that has a history, a whole record, maybe a 40-year record of fighting for these positions. Maybe that's the way to beat him. You have to actually excite voters. You're going to suppress the vote doing the same centrist, moderate bullshit that's got you these losses over and over and over again. All right. I want to go back to Super Chat. But thank you. Crowley. That's his name. Here's the thing with names. Whenever I shoot videos, like my typical my segment videos, I have to have the names in front of me because I will forget the most obvious names. I'll meet somebody, and I'm not even joking. 2 minutes later, I'll forget the person's name that I just met. I don't know what it is with names, and my my mom is like this too. Names get jumbled up, and I forget names. It runs in the family. I forget names no matter how many times I've discussed the person or if I've just met the person or whatever. I am not good with names. So just so you know, in case I ever meet you in person and I forget your name immediately, don't be offended. That's just my brain. All right, Super Chat. Jeremy, thank you for your Super Chat. Didn't send a message, but thank you. Oh, it did again, but I'll get there. Mind of the North Star. Just trying to support. Take care. Oh, thank you so much. Harpy farts. Trump supporters have serious issues, apathy, greed, etc. I agree. Thank you for the Super Chat. Jeremy, again, huge fan. Was just curious, with all the mainstream media and establishment smearing Bernie, how do we deal with the chance of superdelegates rigging it again? All right, so I don't like having this discussion yet. I feel like it's too early. Superdelegates have no power until the second round. So, look, the reason why that in itself is... I want to get rid of Cuomo's face here. The reason why that in itself is... whatever. The reason why that in itself is a good thing, that they're getting rid of superdelegates from the first round, is because the media will no longer use them in the press coverage. So if you think back to last time in the primary in 2015 and 2016, I guess 2016 is when they started really showing this on screen. At the very beginning, when the primary began against Hillary and Bernie, they would put the superdelegate count on screen. I did a video of this actually back then. So if you look up my really old videos, actually, please don't. They're terrible. But if you go back, there's a clip from MSNBC where they are showcasing the delegates on screen as if Hillary already had the superdelegate, when the superdelegates didn't actually support anybody till later on. So when you already have the pledged delegates, oh, I'm going to support Hillary, then the media latches onto that. From the very beginning, Hillary, according to what people saw on television, Hillary at the very beginning had this huge lead already above Bernie Sanders because she had all the superdelegate support. They can't do that this time because there is no superdelegates until the second round. So the worry here, I guess, as a super chatter points out, is that you could have a scenario where Bernie, say, doesn't get a majority of delegates in the primary, and then you have a second round, and then the superdelegates and maybe the other delegates come together around one candidate, and then push out Bernie, even though Bernie was in the lead going into the convention. So that's the worry. But until we get there, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing you can do about this. I don't like living in this world of constant thinking through every negative possibility. I rather live in a optimistic world and giving hope. Look, some people get motivated by negativity. Like some people see that and think, "Oh, that's it. I got to get out and volunteer." And that's good. If negative ideas like that motivate you, good. But there are also other people like myself who don't get motivated by that. I get motivated by seeing positive things, by seeing people do good, by seeing volunteers, by seeing Bernie's volunteer count and the amount of individual supporters he has. That kind of thing is what motivates me. And for a lot of people, that's what motivates them as well. So I see myself more on the positive side of that discussion. I'd rather not get into all the negativity. Other people can cover that stuff. I just don't see the point of being in this constant mindset where, oh, everything's going to go wrong. I just don't. It doesn't do anything for me. All right. More super chats here. Jeremy again didn't answer my last super chat. I assume that's when I read your first one. They're all blank to me. So if you're sending me super chat, yeah, Jeremy, you sent me a few. 2 of them are blank on my super chat screen. Oh wait, that's an old one. Yeah, one of them's blank, so that's why I didn't read it. Eduardo Vasco, Biden is the best choice to beat Trump. He's just in the wrong party. I'm not going to read the rest of that because I think if I say that word, there's going to be some YouTube issues with monetization or even being taken down. And I don't have one, just to answer your question. Mandy Sadowski, love your show. Thank you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Jeremy, again, appreciate all that you do. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Jivan Mamen. Do you think mortgage debt should be canceled as well? No. I mean, we haven't had a conversation about that. I don't know how you would necessarily do that. I think there should be more opportunity for people to buy housing. Housing shouldn't be as expensive as it is, and there needs to be more opportunity for us for people that are poor, middle class, to be able to accumulate wealth. Because, I mean, a house is really one of the few ways that people in the middle class have to attain or amass any sort of wealth. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't know how you would necessarily do that. Raleigh, thank you for the super chat. Kamali Rose, Joe Crowley lost to AOC. Yes, I remember the name afterwards. All right, I'm gonna check on Twitch because I got my little Twitch community here, my little growing Twitch community. Magitism doing their work as the moderator there. Oh, I got some new members here. Let me read through this. J-Rocks subbed with Prime. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a sub. Look at this. 2 different communities going at the same time. I'm sorry if one of you feel like I'm cheating on the other one. But I need to service everybody. Especially if the stuff that's happening with YouTube, the things that get demonetized. It's weird now. Anytime there's a video about either Ilhan Omar or Meghan McCain, those videos demonetized immediately. No matter the topic, doesn't matter. Demonetized immediately. You must submit for review. And usually, or I shouldn't say usually, half the time after review, those get remonetized. But it's really weird. Like, I don't know how this algorithm's set up, but it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. All right. Sorry, back to Twitch for a second. So this from Majetism in the Twitch chat. Today is the 5th of July, and it is the 71st birthday of the NHS in the UK. It should be a symbolic moment for us to reflect how universal healthcare can be achieved. Let's debunk these centrist and right-wing lies of how it cannot work. Yes, it can. Agreed. And your system is different than our system. Our system is not nationalized in Canada, but yeah, there's different ways to achieve universal healthcare. I think I would prefer NHS, a national system, but my purpose right now is just to get Americans to understand how far behind they are in their healthcare. So sometimes when I do a video on Medicare for All, and I talk about how much better healthcare in Canada is, I'll get these messages from Canadians that say, but we have this problem and this problem. Yeah, our system isn't perfect either, but it's a hell of a lot farther along than the American system is. So you have to understand the context of what the conversation is. If I did a discussion about Canada's healthcare system and only Canada's healthcare system, I would talk about the ways that we can improve it or what should be done. But if I'm talking about Medicare for All, then from that framing, the Canadian system and every other universal system is so much further along than the American system is that it wouldn't make sense for me to focus on the issues with each of these universal systems, because the issues are so minor in comparison to what the issues are in the American system. In Canada, we don't have 45,000 people a year going bankrupt because of healthcare expenses. I mean, that doesn't exist. So, like, that alone shows you how much different the system is. People don't die here due to a lack of access to healthcare. You'll always have access to healthcare. You can always get healthcare because it's a universal system. It's not based on wealth. The American system is based on wealth. So, and again, I talked about before how the freedom of being able to change jobs, start a business, do something different with your life, go to a different career, go back to school, and not worry about losing healthcare through your employer, because in a universal system, you always have healthcare no matter what. And on top of that, no out-of-pocket expenses. I mean, the idea that you are giving money to an insurance provider and you still have to pay if you need it. I mean, but then what's the point of the insurance? So it's such a weird system because it's on profit. You're servicing, you're offering healthcare, or healthcare is based around, in America, is based around a system of, can we make money off of this person? I mean, that's what it is. When they deny you coverage, it's because they see a way around their contract or deal with you. They see a way around it and a way for them to make money. I mean, that on its face is disgusting. So there is no way anybody can defend the current system. And when they do, and when they try to push back against Medicare for All, as you saw with Joe Biden in that previous clip, they have to make shit up because there are no actual arguments against a Medicare for All system. But that's what we're in right now. All right. I'm just looking at Twitch for a second. STD Dev 58 on Twitch. Any idea how many Americans are moving to Canada? I don't know. I also don't know if you can. I mean, unless you have family here. I mean, you could move here, I guess, for like 6 months. But I mean, I'm thinking the reverse of it, because I've considered moving to the U.S. at least for 6 months or so, but I wouldn't be able to work legally. You need like a green card or a visa or whatever. So yeah, anytime people say, if you don't like this country, you then leave and go somewhere else. It's not that easy unless you have citizenship somewhere else. It's a whole massive, long process to go through. But whatever. All right. I think there are more super chats coming in. Let me check these out. From Raleigh, Tulsi still anti-gay. What's her healthcare deal? So, actually, I just realized there's no reason for me to have Cuomo behind me. Let me go to this, and let me go to that. Let me go to that. There we go. All right. So, super chat. Raleigh, Tulsi still anti-gay? ? What's her healthcare deal? So, I don't think Tulsi's anti. So this is how she's explained it, and to me, it makes perfect sense. Tulsi Gabbard grew up in a conservative household, and because of that, she had a certain perspective on the LGBT community. So her perspective was clearly impacted by the fact that her father was anti-gay, was conservative. So that's how she operated back then when she was very young, in her teens and early 20s. And then she evolved on the issue when she learned more things. And when it comes to healthcare, so yeah, when it comes to issues of, I can't fault somebody for being born into a family that was conservative and they took on those ideas when she's changed. If she didn't change, obviously, yeah, then that'll be a problem. But she has changed, and I think she's shown a history of that. So I wouldn't go after her on that. What's her healthcare deal? Yeah. So she says she supports Medicare for all, but when the question came up at the debate, would she abolish private insurance? Again, that question is so poorly worded, poorly framed, because you're not abolishing all private insurance. You're abolishing duplicate private insurance. So the way it works in Canada and the way it would work in the US is under a Medicare for all system, private insurers would not be able to duplicate the same kind of coverage that the Medicare for all system offers, because then what's the point? Then essentially it's a public option. So, and the reason you do that, the reason you cut out the private insurers is because if you made it a public option, then the private insurance companies would be able to offset all of the sick people to the public system, drain the public system of resources, and then the private companies would be able to have all the healthy people, and they'd be fine. So that's why you can't separate it. You need everybody in the same pool. That's what brings all the costs down. That's what makes it a universal system. It can't just be a public option. And on top of that, if you made it a public option, people would have to pay into it. So they'd have to choose to do that, and a lot of people wouldn't be able to afford to do that. So you have to make it a universal system that everybody pays into. That way, you have the wealthiest people paying into the same system that the poorest people are paying into. That's how you have a true universal system that services everyone equally based on the healthcare needs, not on wealth. So the question at the debate was dumb, because they asked you, or they asked the candidates, would you abolish private insurance? Would you abolish your private insurance? Which has another layer of stupidity, because are you asking the candidate personally, would they abolish their private insurance, or would they abolish everyone's private insurance? It's such a stupid question. And on top of that, private insurance would still exist. So you're not abolishing it. It exists, but it exists in a limited capacity because they would not be able to offer the same coverage that the universal system offers. So this shows you once again how much misinformation is spread out from the mainstream press just based on the framing of questions. Not even content, not even talking about these issues, just the framing of the debate. There is a problem here. But so Tulsi didn't put her hand up there. I think only, so I forget which debate Tulsi was in. She was in the debate with Bernie, right? I don't even know anymore. But so But the same question was asked at both debates. You had Warren put up her hand, Bill de Blasio put up her hand. Then the second debate, you had Kamala Harris put up her hand and Bernie Sanders put up her hand. Tulsi Gabbard did not put up her hand to say that she would abolish private insurance, which leads me to believe, at least leads some to believe, that she would not be willing to fight for Medicare for all in the same way that other candidates, or I should say other candidates, in the same way that Bernie Sanders would. Everybody else, I have some questions. Elizabeth Warren was not tough about supporting Medicare for all until that debate. So you could argue that she would not really have or she would not be willing to fight as hard as she could to be able to get Medicare for all through, because she's been wavering on that issue until now. Kamala Harris, of course, walked back immediately on Morning Joe the next day. Every time she's talked about abolishing private insurance, she's walked it back the next day. Kamala Harris, all about going for those highlight reel moments, and then doesn't actually mean any of it. So I definitely do not trust Kamala Harris on the issue of Medicare for all. And Tulsi, I don't know what her thinking is. So it may be because she thought of the question the same way that I did, how flawed the question actually was, because you're not abolishing private insurance. But if you're gonna err on the side of caution, then you should err on the side of being on the left when you're erring on the side of caution. So don't err on the side of caution and say, no, I don't want to abolish all private insurance. Err on the side of caution and say, yes, I do, except just to be clear, we're not abolishing all private insurance. So that's the way she should have went there. I don't know. But Tulsi, she's not going to win. There are other progressives in the race. And you may think she's the best one. She's polling at 1%. It's not going to happen. Bernie has the support behind him. Warren has a lot of people that consider themselves to be supportive on these progressive issues, but they also really want to see a female president. I totally understand it. So I get that position, but Bernie, in my mind, is the only way to actually push these issues forward, because he's building a grassroots movement, because he has the biggest movement behind him. He has the most volunteers, the most individual donors. He has the movement already, and he's talking about how even when I become president, that's just the beginning. You need people from the outside putting pressure on Congress to get any of this through. So he's aware of the structural issues in order to actually get any of this passed. And he's been consistent pushing back against the powerful and the wealthy his entire career, 40 years of it. So to me, there's just no comparison between him and Elizabeth Warren. But that said, I still like Warren, just not anywhere near to the level that I like Bernie. All right, Tay Scott, thank you for the super chat. Pop Reality, how will real progressives that support Bernie and Warren unite as we get closer to voting? That's going to depend on how the race shapes out. So there's going to be a moment, unless it's Bernie and Warren till the end. And if that's the case, it's very likely Warren's going to win that race. And it's because she'll have more support in the institutions than Bernie would. So Warren would get the delegate, like she'd get the support from the Kamala backers, the Biden backers, in a situation against her and Bernie. So I hope it doesn't really come to that, because if that's the case, it seems like Warren would win that race. But there's going to be a point where I think it's going to be Bernie, Warren, and Kamala Harris. And there's the potential it'll be Harris versus either Bernie or Warren till the end. And that's going to be where people have to coalesce around one candidate. But how they will do that? Well, they'll have to do it, because you're going to have a choice between somebody who you can't really trust, and that's Kamala Harris, between someone who you could trust a little bit more in the case of Warren, or definitely trust in the case of Bernie Sanders. So thank you for your super chat. Spencer Walker 21, thank you for your super chat. Legendary Pete, big fan, love you, David. Thank you so much. Just refreshing the page. Some more super chats here. I lost my place. Samantha Lynn, I agree about staying positive. What more do you think Bernie can do to sway voters who have been influenced by all the negative smears by the mainstream media? Thanks. Sorry, I want to read the checks. I got this moment of fear that I wasn't broadcasting properly. No, it's fine. Okay. Sorry again. Samantha Lynn, I agree about staying positive. What more do you think Bernie can do to sway voters who have been influenced by all the negative smears by the mainstream media? I mean, he has to keep doing what he's doing. And that's Bernie has to keep putting out the correct information. And maybe share, it would be great actually if Bernie would like retweet some progressive voices. Like the Young Turks would be an obvious one. He's been on that network. I think he should retweet some of their stories. But even like Majority Report, he's been on Majority Report. He can retweet some of their stuff. But everybody else, like Kyle Kalinske, Humanist Report, me, that'd be cool. Retweet some of our shit. Like, let your followers know there is actual press out there that is looking at the facts objectively. Now, look, do we have bias? Obviously. My bias is towards progressive policy because I want to see people helped, lifted up. I want to see people have healthcare. I want to see people have education. I want to see people be able to afford to live. So if that's a bias, then that's my bias. My bias is towards humanity. But the press, their bias, and they don't even realize it, is towards a status quo. It's towards corporations continuing to have all this power. By them trying to step out of the debate and acting like, oh, Democrats say this, Republicans say this, what they're actually doing is avoiding the objective facts. The press should be there to defend the people. They should be there as spokesmen for the actual people in the country, but they're not. They're simply there, at least right now, a lot of them, just there to offer you up what everybody else is saying and not give you any objective reality. And when they do give you opinions, well, you've seen how that goes. I should say, though, I played Cuomo earlier, interviewing Biden. Chris Cuomo has had on Cenk Uygur now a number of times on his show in various panel discussions. I think that's great. I think there needs to be more of that. We need to encourage that. Whenever you see someone on the left, somebody actually on the left on one of these mainstream shows, like the tweet, reply to the host, say, I'm glad you had this person on, have them on again. You need that kind of support out there. It's not just about attacking people who, you always see these Twitter rages where people say something stupid or someone in the media says something dumb and they get all these tweets at them. It's not just about, negativity. When they do something good, positive reinforcement works. So when Chris Cuomo has on Cenk Uygur, send him a tweet saying, I'm glad you had Cenk on, have Cenk on again. If he sees a lot of that, he'll keep doing it. Same with other hosts that have people on like that. So it's important to have that dialogue out there and that it's not just negative. Make sure that you are presenting some positive reinforcement as well, because that also goes a long way. Jivan Amen. Why are Justice Dems like AOC not campaigning for Bernie? It's too early. So when it comes to endorsing candidates for 2020, I think they're going to wait a little bit more until you get to Iowa. So, or their state, their voting state. If AOC endorsed Bernie now, it's not going to have that much of an impact when the voting actually starts. So the right time for AOC to endorse Bernie is either before Iowa or before New York, where you will have the most impact on the actual voters. People are going to forget that AOC endorsed Bernie. It's going to become a normal thing if she did it now. But if she does it later on, it'll be fresh in the minds of voters, and it will have more of an impact on the actual vote. Raleigh, I love Tulsi, but Medicare for all public option. I don't know if that's Tulsi's position. She's been saying Tulsi has been saying Medicare for all. So it's just her answer in the debate was not as satisfying as I would have liked it to be. Pop reality, framing matters. Bernie needs to say he will be lowering taxes. Medicare for all will be eliminating private taxes, premiums, co-pays. That's actually a good way to phrase it. If you call what you pay to a private insurance company right now as taxes, private taxes, and say you're paying less in taxes than your private taxes to a private insurance company, that could be a better way to frame it in the minds of voters. I like that. What do you mean? This is a great YouTube account. Hey, my guy, big love from Australia. Love your work. Thank you. I love your work too. Check out What Do You Mean? Exclamation mark, question mark on YouTube. She does fantastic work. Platitude Platypus, which I think is the same person. Warren voted for 2 of the 3 of Trump's military budgets. How can anyone like this woman? Yeah. I get what you're saying, but here's the thing. I should have mentioned that earlier. One of Warren's biggest flaws is foreign policy. So when it comes to, if you're trying to pick a candidate and you want somebody on the left, you want somebody who actually is not even just progressive in the rhetoric, but you know they're going to fight for what's right, and not just domestically, but abroad as well. Bernie's the only guy. I'm sorry. This is not even a debate in my mind. It's obvious. So Warren, like, when it comes to this race, Warren is better than most on practically every other issue. But when it comes to foreign policy, she's pretty much in line with everybody else, with all the other Democrats on that stage, which is disappointing. But yeah, Warren would not be would not be any real improvement. Here, this is what I mean. Warren will be a massive improvement over Donald Trump in every area. But when it comes to foreign policy, Warren will not be a real improvement over Obama, for example. They'll be very similar, actually. Daryl Burton. Will we ever be able to get the Dems to see the light? So it's not about them seeing the light. They have no reason to. So it depends who you're talking about. If you're talking about the party, the institution, the DNC, the DCCC, they're never going to see the light when it comes to these issues because they're actively fighting against it. They can see the light, but they're fighting it with darkness. So they're the dark. So they're never going to see the light because it's in their best interest to continue propping up the way the system works, prop up the consultant class, prop up corporate interests, prop up wealthy donors. So these institutions are never going to see the light. They have to be taken over. You have to board the ship and kick them out, which is why elections like AOC are so important. That's just the beginning. Once you start primarying the leadership, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Steny Hoyer, everybody else, get them out of there, then that's when you see real change, is when the leadership is taken over by these ideas, by these politicians that aren't taking any of this money, that are actually finally speaking for the workers. That's why I think that when it comes to like supporting a third party or whatever, I don't think it makes much sense when we already see serious progress in the Democratic Party. We already see the Democratic Party having this fight right now. The fight is ongoing. So you should get in that fight and support the candidates, or maybe become one yourself, that are primarying these corporate Democrats out of there. The vessel exists. The Democratic Party is the vessel. All you have to do is board the vessel and kick out the people that shouldn't be there. So that's why I think, supporting the Democratic Party in terms of supporting progressive candidates in these primary races is the most important part in terms of electoral politics right now. This is from Enter Name. It's quite a name. What are your thoughts on candidate Nick Gurz? I don't know who that is. So no idea. All right. I'm going to go back and check on my Twitch people. Hey, Twitch people. How's it going? Got 30 people in there right now. So this is what I do on Twitch sometimes. Sometimes I do a separate Twitch-only stream. I did that the other day, mainly because I had some technical difficulties when it came to streaming on YouTube. I had a monitor that wasn't working, so I had to attach my computer. Anyways, long discussion. But I had to, that was a Twitch-only stream. But sometimes I'll play some video games. I'll play games. I'll get on there. I'll chat with the Twitch audience. So if you want to know when I'm on sometimes, usually it's in the evening if I'm playing a game. Go to twitch.tv/therationalnational and you'll find me. You can follow me on there if you are a Twitch member, you can subscribe to me now since I'm an affiliate on there. So that's pretty cool. So lots going on in the Twitch audience. I'm going to go back to the chat there and just see if there's any... Excuse me, I just ate a breakfast sandwich. Any questions in the Twitch chat? The chat is super active. I like that. But because it's so active, it's hard to get into the middle of a conversation. Everyone's talking to each other. Have you seen the new polls, David? This is from Magitism. Have you seen the new polls? Biden is falling. He will continue to fall when people see him debating. Yeah, I was going to do a video. Maybe I'll do a video on that today, actually. So there's been some polls showcasing that, yeah, Biden is falling. I was going to pull it up, but I don't know if I can find it. Yeah, there's been some polls showing that Biden is... Actually, maybe I can find it in my... right there. Maybe I'll find it here. Let's see what the polls say. So there was one bad poll from CNN that had Bernie in like 4th. And then, of course, when a single poll, one poll has Bernie in 4th place. Oh, Bernie's dropping. It's over. Bernie's done. Finally, as we've been talking about for 5 years, finally, Bernie, no more support for Bernie Sanders. And then, of course, like 2 polls come out the next day. No, Bernie's clearly in 2nd place. He's right behind Biden. Like, it's just this shit. Like, it's so in your face. Like, if you know anything about anything, if all you do is maybe read Twitter sometimes or look at some other sources than just watching CNN and MSNBC, you would know what the actual race is about, what is actually going on. But if you're only in the ecosystem of cable news, you will have no fucking clue on what is happening in the world, or at least what's happening in the primary. Let me see if I can find that poll. It's going to be like, oh, Bernie lost all the support. No more support for Bernie Sanders. Though you did have this one. Bernie's the best to handle healthcare. I covered that in a previous video. So this CNN poll claimed that Bernie lost 2 points after the debate. As far as I've seen, it's the only poll to show Bernie losing after the debate. Same with Warren. I mean, Warren and Sanders both gained after the first debate from every other poll I saw, except for this CNN poll. Here you go. This was the one. Biden 22, Harris 17, Warren 15, 14 for Bernie. Oh my God. Bernie, no more support for Bernie. There was like a hilarious headline from CNN where it's like, Bernie Sanders, no more. He's done. Goodbye, Bernie. See if I could find that, because it was, it was such a stupid. I think it was CNN. I mean, there were a few headlines like that. I don't think that was it. There we go. Jordan Sheridan comes through. This was the story right. Bernie 2020 is in big trouble. Oh, Bernie's at 4th place. Big trouble now. But then let's go to some other polls here. How am I going to find this? Bernie poll. I could go on Google, but I swear to God, every time I search Google for Bernie, it's all the negative stories that come up first. Look at this. Today's WAPO ABC poll shows Bernie surging 12 points since April, only 6 points behind Biden, and with more than double the support of his next 2 rivals combined. Yet, here are the headlines about the poll, somehow not even mentioning Bernie. Of course, Biden holds lead in Democratic presidential contest. Get out of this picture. Harris is praised for debate performance. Of course, you don't see Bernie mentioned there. Is this going to work? Harris scores in debate performance while electability keeps Biden in the front. Yeah, of course, no mention. This one is maybe the funniest one. Harris, Warren tied for third place in new 2020 Dem poll, but Biden still leads. So you're just not going to mention that Bernie's in that second place there? Just Harris, Warren, Biden. Let's just ignore Bernie in second completely. I mean, any other candidate, they would not do this to. And you see it when you search the headlines. I mentioned this in my previous Twitch stream, actually, I think, where search up Pete Buttigieg. It's going to be positive headline, positive headline, positive headline. Search up Bernie. Maybe I'll do right now. Let's see if what I'm saying is true here. Maybe we'll get lucky, though. Maybe we'll get lucky. Bad news for Bernie. Oh, shit. Bad news for Bernie. But this one's good. Sanders waves off the holiday heat as he takes on 5 Independence Day, that's about parades. Bernie marched in 5 Independence Day parades. I think he marched for something like, he walked for like, maybe it'll say in here. He walked way more miles than I ever have in my life. Okay, I'm not going to do this whole... See, the only reason I put ad blocker, I usually don't use ad blocker because I think it's good to support these sites. But when it comes to streaming, I don't want ads in my face. But he walked a lot. Let's just say that. He walked a lot. But back to the point, though. So you have some more... wait, let's go to news stories. That's what I need to do. Here we go. 4 Independence Day celebrations. So here we go. Some positive stuff. Sanders, Biden try to impact Iowa voters during Independence Day. Bernie and Elizabeth wage war on the young. All right. Bad news for Bernie as his backers getting antsy. So you see what I'm saying. Let's look up old Petey boy. Pete Buttigieg. So I saw I played this video. I watched this video earlier, and there's some people thinking. So I don't want to show it. But basically, this is what happened. A voter suggested Pete Buttigieg tell black people in South Bend to stop breaking the law. That's what that guy said. If I click this link, Washington Post is going to be like, "You are not subscribed to us. Pay us $10 a month to read our articles." I'm not giving them any money. But yeah. And then Buttigieg actually gave a good answer, of course. He's like, being racist is not the way to to defeat these people. But these are all positive stories. So positive, rebuke man, scolds rally goer, hits back at black people question. I mean, if I was a super conspiratorial dude, I'd be like, they planted that guy there because it was a softball. I mean, you could easily hit that one out of the park. It was a dumb comment by a random person in Buttigieg's event. Buttigieg easily hit back. But these are all positive. Though I wouldn't consider this positive. But for Buttigieg, or the way it's framed, these are positive stories. But this is what you see. It's what you see. See what we get with Kamala Harris. Waiting for breakout moment. Responds to criticism. Her destroying Biden. I mean, are we going to talk about how she walked back her comments on busing? Because that also apparently happened. But I don't want to read that right now. All right, you get what I'm saying. A lot of the time when you look up Bernie, it's some negative shit. But how did I even get to this conversation? Completely forgot what I was talking about. Oh, the new polls. Yes, that's right. I was going to look up the new polls. Okay. Actually, I just did some of the research here. Let me just see if I could bring it up. Because I was going to maybe do a story on this today. So this one I like a lot because it shows you kind of like the evolution. How do I get back? So here, as you can see, Joe Biden. So previous poll is just in the shell. You can see the shell here. And then latest poll is the blue. So Biden dropped considerably. Went from 30% to 22% following the debate. Bernie Sanders grew. Clearly in second place. If you ask CNN, no more support for Bernie Sanders. Bernie's done. He's gone. But here he gained 1% and is clearly in second place. Kamala Harris almost doubled her support, going from 6 to 10. Elizabeth Warren also grew, as I was saying, grew 1 percentage point. Everybody else appeared to drop except for Andrew Yang, who I didn't think had a good showing, but maybe just him being on stage allowed him to have a little more, or gain a little more in support. But, I mean, Tulsi even, look at this. She went from 1 to 0. Hickenlooper, why are you even in the race? De Blasio, I thought would raise, or at least stay the same. De Blasio, I thought had a good showing. A lot of people, though, just don't know. And those are the voters you need to convince, the don't knows. Yeah, actually, on top of that, the people you need to convince are people that didn't answer this poll, haven't voted for years, maybe have never voted because they see these politicians as all being crooks, and you appeal to them with a working class candidate that fights for people and has a record of doing so. We have the footage. We have videos of Bernie supporting or discussing even climate change. I think it was like 1988, 1990. Bernie was talking about the greenhouse gas effect to a class of students, talking about how this is going to be one of the biggest issues in our lifetime, way before anybody else was talking about climate change. Bernie supported gay rights in the 80s. I mean, it goes on and on. Obviously, his histories of talking about income inequality and discussing how we need to help the poor and help children and put more money into schools and food. So all of this is just, you have to make that case, and you can make that case with a candidate that actually has lived it. So that's one poll. There's another poll as well. I don't know if I'm going to go through it because, again, I may do a video on this separately that has, okay, this is a good poll. I do want to show this one. So we also got this one here. ABC News poll. This is maybe the best news for Bernie right here, if I can get out of the frame. You got Joe Biden. I'll just zoom out. Joe Biden, 29. Bernie Sanders, 23. And clearly, again, Bernie's in second place. So this is how the debate has been going. We've been told that, Bernie is going to lose, has no support. The polling doesn't show that. And even then, there are flaws in these polls. A lot of these polls skew towards older voters. A lot of them just use landlines. How many times have you answered a phone on your landline if you're under 30? If you're under 35? Very rarely. I don't answer my phone on my cell phone. So a lot of people don't answer the phone. And it's a lot of young people that don't do that. So these polls are just, don't put too much into them. As we saw in 2016, because Trump was able to bring out a lot of people and because Hillary suppressed the vote of a lot of people on the left, Trump got a lot more support than was expected. And even though Hillary did win the popular vote, she didn't win where it mattered and lost the election. So that's why you can't put too much credence in these polls. You have to actually be a little more aware that you need to appeal to non-voters in order to win these elections. But back to Super Chat. All right. And again, I'll be going back to Twitch at some point. Again. Super Chat. Let me refresh this page. A lot of support here in Super Chat. Thank you so much. From What Do You Mean? My channel grew from 500 to 600 in a day. Shout out TMBS. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I saw you on TMBS. That's great. Yeah, it's important that we support these channels that are just growing now. Like Christo Avalis. I had Christo Avalis on my show. I interviewed him for, I think, 40 minutes. Great interview. If you're into Canadian politics, watch that interview with Christo Avalis and follow him on YouTube. He has a great YouTube channel. He gets very deep into these issues. He's a historian, so he obviously brings a historical perspective to a lot of these topics. Definitely follow Christo Avalis. And he covers a lot of American stuff too, so it's not just Canadian content. Matthias N. As an atheist, what view do you have on religion and liberalism? The view of Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, or Reza Aslan, Ben Affleck. Love your show. I just feel like I don't think about this stuff as much as they do. Like, yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't side with Sam Harris. But when it comes to religion, like, I don't consider myself an atheist because I feel like that's taking a position. I'm non-religious is what I am. I'm agnostic. So when it comes to religion, I'm not religious. I grew up Catholic, but I'm not religious. But I don't see any issue with people being religious if you're doing positive work. I mean, a lot of religion is just, it's a community. That's what it is. So if you're in a community and that community is doing good, there can be positive religious communities and negative Christian communities or religious communities in general. Then that's what matters is what do you actually, how do you help people? Are you positive? Are you voting the right way? Like, all of these things come together. But I don't have any issue with people that are religious. Chet's Mom 4. President Warren would water down her plans to make the establishment happy. The plans don't work. DNC says, see, progressive policies don't work. Don't elect progressives. Except Warren is more centrist than progressive. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter what the establishment says, regardless. Because even if you pass something progressive, like Medicare for all, for example, the corporate interests are going to focus on the negative aspects. They're going to talk about, all these people that worked in private insurance lost their jobs, even though maybe now a lot of them are working in the universal system and other jobs. But they'll always try to focus on something to push their side of it because they have financial interests. So don't overly concern yourself with making or with trying to change the minds of anybody on television. That's not what I try to do. What I try to do is change the minds of people that watch this shit, that consume this shit, because you're not going to change the mind of, I don't know, Chris Matthews or Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd, I mean, I did this kind of in a different video, but AOC was on Chuck Todd's show months ago talking about the myth of the center. How there really is no center of the country. There are no people looking for moderate candidates. There are people that don't vote and people that are disenfranchised from the system. But even after AOC spelled out this entire thing to Chuck Todd, did Chuck Todd learn from that? Did he absorb that information and now communicate that to everybody else later on? Of course not. Chuck Todd has a certain narrative to push. He has a certain view, and he's going to continue to push that view regardless of what information comes at him that completely proves his current worldview to be incorrect. So when it comes to changing minds, just be aware of that. So sure, Elizabeth Warren's plans may not go as far as Bernie's, but they'd go farther than Kamala Harris, go farther than Warren. She'd be obviously better than Donald Trump or any Republican. So at the same time, I don't support Warren. I support Bernie. But it's don't take this all or nothing approach. Take this, look at this election as tiers. There's tier one. There's clearly the best candidate that in terms of getting what you want through, in terms of getting progressive policy passed, there is clearly the one candidate in Bernie Sanders. And then you could look at, okay, let's go down the list. Elizabeth Warren, maybe number 2. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard, number 2. But again, I'm looking at candidates that I think are actually have a chance at winning. I don't think Tulsi has any chance at winning, so I don't put her in that discussion. So I think Warren, number 2. Now, is Warren far down the list from Bernie? Yes, but she's still at number 2. So I have zero reason right now to go after Elizabeth Warren. There's no reason to. But there are reasons to take down Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and anybody else that currently threatens that. Now, if the race gets down to Warren and Bernie, you can bet your ass I'm going to be comparing the two candidates. But that's not where it is right now. So it's important to have the right frame depending on the state of the race as it currently is. Enter name. Ever thought of modeling? No, I have not. I have not thought of modeling. I don't know if that would work out for me. I don't know. I don't know. I tell you what, I don't like posing for pictures. I feel weird and awkward. So I feel like modeling wouldn't really work. I don't want to get into it. I don't know why people think I'm attractive, to be honest with you. I think I'm a very goofy, weird guy. But if you like me, all right, cool, thank you. Karain, big money needs to go. We need Bernie 2020. I agree. Thank you for your super chat. Citizen01, no message, but thank you for your super chat. Jen Pepper, thanks for the chat, David. Thank you for your super chat. All right, I'm going to refresh that page. There is more. Raleigh, you say Tulsi is too low in the polls, then say polls are flawed, which they are. Both sides, RNC, DNC, want to silence her. Progressive media should not be. Bernie, Tulsi, 2020. Sure, if you want Tulsi as the VP, then why are you supporting her now? Why not support Bernie now and then make your case for Tulsi as VP if Bernie wins the nomination? I mean, again, look at the current state of the race. That's what I always say. Look at what the race currently is. What's the point right now to support Tulsi for president when it appears there is zero chance of her winning the nomination? And if you like her, then it makes sense to, you like her, whatever, be vocal for her, cool. But when it comes to voting, if you're voting in the state and Bernie's in the race and Tulsi's still in the race and Bernie's going up against Warren and Biden, Kamala Harris, to waste your vote in Tulsi Gabbard in that state, it would be dumb. Support the guy that actually has the chance at winning the primary. But yeah, I agree that polls are flawed. But when I say polls are flawed, that doesn't mean that Tulsi all of a sudden is going to be number one. If there was a poll that wasn't flawed, Tulsi's still going to be in the lower tier of candidates here. Enter name. What are idiot maniacs still? Oh, sorry. Look, I can't read sometimes. It's the morning still. Why are idiot maniacs still supporting Tulsi? I wouldn't call them idiot maniacs, but there are some people. I noticed this with Tulsi. I noticed this with Andrew Yang. There are some people that are just super into these candidates, and I don't really know why. I get it when it comes to someone that has a 40-year record of fighting for the same thing, has a history of being a leader on all of these issues. In that sense, I get it. Bernie Sanders. But I don't get it when your candidate is not all that popular compared to other candidates in the race. And when your candidate, in many cases, I mean, in the case of Yang, his UBI is libertarian. It's not an addition on top of the current welfare state. It's replacing it, or at least that's its intention anyways, the way he discussed it with Dave Rubin. So, sorry, I'm not going to support a libertarian in the Democratic Party. Mike Giaramida, keep up the great work. Thank you, and I apologize for butchering your last name, most likely. Giaramida? I don't know. Firm 65. Where are you based out of? I'm in the U.S., and I really like the coverage you do for Canadian politics since there aren't that many channels that do. Will you cover the 2020 Canadian election? The election's actually this year. I will cover it. I'm based out of Toronto, so that's where I'm at. Gabriel Arcari. Tulsi equals more progressive than Warren. Enough said. Based on what? Based on what? Based on what? If you want to say foreign policy, you might have an argument there. Or you likely do have an argument there. But Warren's been putting out detailed policy proposals on domestic issues. I mean, detailed shit. Her breaking up big tech. The one where she wants to put workers on the boards of companies. I think Bernie has a similar build to that. Warren vocally, clearly, actively supporting Medicare for all in that last debate, being all for abolishing private insurance. Tulsi didn't. So I don't know. Tulsi also had a weird defense of Biden a couple weeks ago that made me raise an eyebrow. Or was that last week? I don't know. Tulsi's fine. But again, the race, she's not in the race right now. So why are we so focused on Tulsi Gabbard? I mean, there's no hope. I'm sorry. If somehow she, after the next debate, Tulsi shoots up like 20 points, then we can start talking. But I'm not in a position, I'm not CNN, I'm not in a position to really transform the national discussion around a candidate. So it wouldn't make sense for me to cover somebody who I don't really think has much of a shot. Okay. Let's go to Twitch. Let me see. What am I getting out of here? Started the stream at 10:10. It's almost been 2 hours. I'm going to try to get out of here maybe at 12:30 Eastern time. Maybe earlier. I don't know. Because I don't know what I'm going to shoot today. Like I'm talking with my audience about my schedule, but I don't know what I'm going to do today. I might do a video on those polls. I might do a video on Biden downplaying AOC's impact and his strategy for winning. I might do a video on Kamala Harris backtracking on her comments against Joe Biden, which I haven't talked about yet because I'm kind of saving that for a video. So I don't know, but maybe a half an hour more on here. Going back to Twitch. Lots happening on Twitch. 44 viewers. That's great. Big conversation going on right now. Let me check the activity feed. Apollo gave a sub to somebody else. Thank you, Apollo. A bunch of new follows. I think that's it on Twitch. Let me read some comments on there. This is from Ed Thompson. With respect, the media isn't blind. They know what they are doing. The corporations that own them are financially vested in maintaining corporate-friendly Dems. It's hard to be impartial when your job and income is at stake. Yeah. I hope I'm not saying anything different. It depends, again. It depends what you mean by the media. Because the media isn't a person. There are different people. So when it comes to framing the conversations and the producers and where the producers feel pressure to cover and all that kind of thing, yeah, they have a particular narrative to cover. When it comes to the actual cable news media hosts, I don't necessarily think all of them know what they're doing. I think you give them too much credit. A lot of them are dumb as shit. Chuck Todd is dumb as a rock. So I honestly don't think Chuck Todd thinks he's pushing a narrative. I think he's just dumb. I think he's in this bubble where everybody thinks like he does. So he thinks, oh, I'm just communicating what the standard obvious viewpoint is on this race, when it's not. It's standard and obvious in his bubble because they're protecting certain interests. So a lot of these hosts are just dumb. They read off a teleprompter. They don't know much else. They don't dive into the numbers. They don't look at the research. They have a particular narrative, and when they hear what appeals to that narrative, like when you have Marcos Malitzis on Chuck Todd's show talking about how nobody supports Bernie anymore. Everybody's going to Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren has all the support. I mean, it's just complete, utter bullshit. Complete bullshit. Marcos Malitzis is a Democratic consultant. He is paid to push a certain narrative. If Bernie Sanders wins, he is set up to lose a lot of money and a lot of power. Of course, Marcos doesn't want Bernie to win. Bernie will transform the system, and the system will not involve Marcos. So they're going to push certain narratives. But that was the second time I tried my Marcos impression. I'm still working on it. I can't quite place the accent. It's like a very, it's like a mixture of different accents. But I'll keep working on it. All right. What else is going on the Twitch? I like all these faces. Twitch is a very different thing. I like it. It's completely its own culture. I dig it. I'm beginning to learn more and more. All right, I'm gonna jump over to I'm gonna jump over to Super Chat. But I'm enjoying the Twitch chat right now. All right, Super Chat. Jason from Detroit, please check out my videos if you have time. Thank you. Well, thank you, Jason, for your Super Chat. Hoot Hoot Burns. Bernie is done. Did you see those parade crowds? The large group with him marching and random people running up to him for checks, notes, hugs? Yeah, maybe I'll let me play some of that right now. Hoot Hoot Burns, obviously gigantic supporter. I see them all the time. Let me bring that up. See if I could find Bernie and crowds. Or Bernie March. It's funny. It's like when I go through Twitter, there's a shit ton of clips of Bernie in these marches, and then I search it on Twitter, and almost nothing comes up. Odd. Here we go. All right, cool. Let's check this one out. These people are really... Play, Twitter. Twitter does this all the time. Does everybody else have this problem? Where Twitter will like pause a video 10 seconds into the video, or like the sound will cut out. Like Twitter is the worst. That's the same video. What's this? That's supposed to be Bernie? Again, Twitter can't trust you. This person just very excited about it. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on. He marched again. I think it was like, I don't know, 5 miles or something. I don't know. It was he went to 6 parades. Jesus. Again, okay, Twitter is not a good platform for a lot, except for learning about every piece of news that ever comes out. But for watching video, it's not all that solid. All right, but yeah, Bernie has a lot of on the ground support, a lot of volunteers, a lot of individual donors. He has the most active supporter base, and for the mainstream press to not communicate that when talking about this race, it's just dishonest. It's not even close. Nobody in the race has anywhere near the amount of supporters, the amount of volunteers, the amount of individual donors, individual donations that Bernie Sanders has. Samantha Lynn. Tulsi should not be VP. She would be a better Secretary of State or National Secretary Advisor. Yeah. Yeah, there was a time when I could see Tulsi as VP. I don't really see it as much anymore. I think Warren actually, honestly, I think it's, again, we're assuming a lot. If Bernie wins a nomination, I think Warren would have the choice. Do you want to be VP? If not, what position do you want in the administration? But from there, say Warren doesn't want to be VP, I think we're going to have a longer conversation about who could be VP. Conquering Thought. Tulsi is more progressive than Warren based on a ton of her policies. Warren having plans does not make her more progressive. Bernie with Tulsi as Secretary of State is still probably better long run, in my opinion. I think it's debatable. I mean, do we have to bring up Tulsi's comments on torture? Do we have to bring up her vote against taking in refugees? So her record is not perfect. That said, she's number 3 in in these candidates in terms of actual positions on left-wing policy. So number 2 or number 3. So that's how I see it, which again, it doesn't. Why are we having this conversation? Let's focus on the top 5 right now. Pete Buttigieg raised $24 million. Let's focus a little bit more on exposing how absurd it is that a guy that has 4% in the polls, Pete Buttigieg, somehow raised the most. That's the kind of fight that we should all be focused on right now. Not trying to compare Warren and Tulsi and who's more progressive. No, let's look at the dipshits in the race, and getting the dipshits out. What arguments can I use to help convince my fellow gays that the Buttigieg campaign is devoid of substance? They're so smitten and I don't get it. So let me show you an argument I used on Twitter, and it apparently worked. And I can't take credit for it because I simply just linked to somebody else that has a whole gigantic thread. I got to find this tweet first. But basically, there's a great thread of all the, I'm going to show when I find it, of a lot of what Buttigieg has done as mayor. And I mean, it just completely shows you this guy is not somebody you want to support if you support left-wing politics. Can I find these tweets? Here we go. All right. Let me do this again. Here we go. All right. So this is what I did. Oh, you can't see it here. So there's a different conversation where I linked to this thread to somebody on Twitter when they were supporting Buttigieg, and showing them that this thread completely changed their mind on Buttigieg. So if you want to show them this thread, look for Nick Taylord. Or sorry, Nicola Y. Lord. You will find this thread. Let's go through some of it, shall we? Why you shouldn't support Pete Buttigieg for the upcoming 2020 election. A thread. Refuse to investigate the apparent lynching of 16-year-old black boy. There's the source, TOAT article, and everything here is sourced. Fired South Bend's black police chief for exposing racism in the police force. CNN source. He later lied about it. Fired those calling for an investigation, possibly leaving innocent black people imprisoned. Another source. Let's see what this is about.
It might, and I'm telling you, the wiretapping excuse is so flimsy. That's why he couches it in, it might violate federal wiretapping laws. It doesn't. And in the Karen DePape documents, their excuse for why they're not listening to the tapes and not making the tapes public is it might affect prosecutions. Yes, if it's racist cops who are putting people away for being black, it should affect the prosecutions. Maybe they didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's a huge civil rights issue.
And let me just, I mean, this is obvious, but those cops are paid by the taxpayers in South Bend, Indiana. They have the right to know what those tapes, contain, right?
Look, guys, everybody always looks at things from the white perspective, like, oh, how will it affect the police department? How will it affect Buttigieg's career? How will it affect this and that?
Yeah.
How will it affect African Americans who live in South Bend, Indiana? How can we never ask that? If you're a black person living in South Bend, how do you know which cops to trust?
That's right.
How do you know which ones think you're the N-word and are naturally criminal, whether you did something or you didn't do something? How do you know which one? You can't trust any of the cops in South Bend. Instead of not being able to trust some percentage, which we can weed out, et cetera, go through a process, now all of a sudden they're all suspect. So who'd you help?
Yep. More here. While some in his inner circle backed a $45,000 loan to one of the accused rapist cops, source, in fact, the three people who backed a $45,000 loan for Corbett's campaign last year are Buttigieg supporters, including his political inner circle. We're only at three. There's more to this. Oversaw a police force that was forced to pay out over $1.3 million in brutality and civil rights settlements. Jesus. Oversaw a 50% decrease in black officers on the police force, replacing many who left due to not being given promotions with white officers. Again, sourced, and a lot of these are CNN sources, so you can't be saying, oh, just the TYT people are saying. No, these are real. These are all fucking stories backed up with facts. And actually, the TYT reporting is some of the fantastic on here when it comes to Buttigieg. So actually, if you want to dig into this stuff, you can go and read it afterwards. But check out this thread and all of these links. And if you really want to understand or communicate to people who support Buttigieg, show them all of this. And hopefully they'll see the light here. Responded to Black Lives Matter with the right-wing response, All Lives Matter. This one, I was like, of course he did. Of course he did. CNBC here. There you go. Rising Democratic presidential candidate or contender said all lives matter. Opposes tuition-free public. By the way, if you don't get this yet, do I have to go through this again? All lives matter is like saying when a house is burning down, all houses matter. All the houses matter. Why are we just focusing on the house that's burning down? All the houses matter. The whole point of Black Lives Matter is that there is an issue with cops being racist, with the police force based in this racism. That is the issue here. Yeah, obviously all houses matter. Obviously all lives matter, but that isn't the point. The point is to put a focus on where the issue is. So anytime someone says all lives matter, they're avoiding an actual issue. Opposes tuition-free public college. I mean, that, yeah. Most of us know this. A lot of people maybe don't know this, but I think that's obvious. He doesn't really support anything progressive, as far as I've seen. Demolished the homes of many South Bend residents, unable to afford repairs, and drastically ramped up unfair fines. Yep, I read about that. Wants to keep troops in Syria. So this one, I guess I don't want to go into it, but yeah, you can argue that there is you don't want to it's not about fighting war there, but it's about supporting the Kurds on the ground, so supporting the people that are left wing on the ground, trying to build a society there. If you want to leave somebody there in a way to potentially just, trying to not allow or scare Turkey off from going in there and just taking over. I mean, there is an argument you could make to leave some troops in Syria as a way to defend the left-wing movement there. But that's not a discussion that's really even going on in the mainstream press. Opposed Obama ending torture of whistleblower Chelsea Manning. Oh my God, are you serious? Siri. Of course Siri goes off. Yeah. Do we have, like, maybe this one so the initial question was about where's my mouse? Was about yeah. What arguments can I use to help convince my fellow gays that Buttigieg campaign is devoid of substance? Well, if you support the LGBT community, Chelsea Manning clearly is someone that deserves your support, and Buttigieg is not there for it. Supports Israel's right-wing apartheid to the point he wants to model U.S. security after it. Jesus. How much more is this? Or how much more is there? Supports continued removal of incarcerated people's voting rights. That face says it all. Doesn't support boycotting corporations for political reasons. This is the thread to show people that support Buttigieg. Won't support universal child care. Was for a while the only top candidate openly funding his campaign with lobbyist money. And he's still... So he may have stopped taking lobbyist money, but that's a very slim audience. Buttigieg gets a lot of his money with these bundlers, PAC money, but private fundraisers is what is really helping Buttigieg and a lot of these candidates. Going to the homes of these wealthy corporate or these wealthy corporate donors. I mean, that's what all these candidates do, except for Bernie and Warren in the primary. Warren has said she'd be open to taking money from anywhere in the general, and I'm not sure who else. I assume Tulsi, but Tulsi's had private fundraisers in the past. I've seen them. I covered one of them. Yang, I don't know. Williamson, I don't know. But in terms of the top tier candidates, again, what the race right now is actually about, these top 5 candidates, which includes Buttigieg, Warren and Bernie are the only ones in the primaries not doing this. Everyone else has these private fundraisers. Opposes reversing Trump's relocation of the Israeli embassy to Jerusalem. Of course. I mean, I don't know how long this thread is, but there is more. A white officer with a documented history of racist behavior that violated department policy was allowed to stay on the force without a body cam. He shot and killed an elderly black man. And Mayor Pete spoke to the media before the victim's family, skipped the vigil, and then gave a speech to the police instead. Mayor Pete really screwing up in his day job. And received backlash for it. This one, I think you've all seen.
In the case of Warren, I do not have evidence that there has been discipline for racist behavior in the case of Warren.
And you running for president?
But if
you truly running for president and you want people to vote for you?
But if
you running for president and you want black people to vote for you? That's a downfall. That's not going to happen.
I'm not asking for your vote.
You ain't going to get it either.
I'm not asking for your vote. Allowed a white officer to keep his job after multiple racist and violent incidents. Look, there's no reason for anybody to support Buttigieg. So not even, as the super chat person asked me, not even just about his gay supporters. Nobody should be supporting Buttigieg. Nobody that considers himself to be somewhere on the left should be supporting Buttigieg. It's just so much of this that I'm going to have to scroll through. Oh my God. So allowed a white officer to keep his job after multiple racist and violent incidents, including beating and tasing an innocent teen after breaking into the wrong house. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And torture, okay. And there's more. And posting a video of it online as retaliation for the man filing a complaint about the force ignoring a drunk driving incident. Even despite a community-led campaign. Oh my God. Dismisses workers' rights. Workers' rights. Workers striking for fair wages. You know what's funny? Pete Buttigieg's, I think his dad was a Marxist. As was Kamala's. Very interesting. Makes you think maybe some people on the left shouldn't have kids. Because their kids are going to become more conservative than they are. And called them social justice warriors. Yep, in his book, he called people that were striking. So this was people striking, I believe, in front of Harvard. I think it was the kitchen staff or something. They were striking for higher wages, for labor rights. And Buttigieg called them SJWs in his book. Vaccines. Okay. I think that was the last one. Or maybe there's more. You get the picture. Buttigieg, again, send your friend to this Twitter thread right here. And you'll get the full thing on Buttigieg. All right. I'm losing myself right now. These bright lights are putting me into a daze. All right, I'm gonna go through these super chats. It's almost 12:30. I'm gonna go through whatever super chats are left. Check on Twitch, my Twitch audience, and then get out of here. Just gotta find my place. There we go. Megan, can you do a video about Tiffany Caban recount? Yeah. That's the progressive DA endorsed by Bernie and AOC. Sean King tweeted about it. Yeah, I was going to do a video on her win, because she did win, kind of. But she won before all the votes were counted, so there was still a batch of votes. I forget how they were. I think they were mail-in votes or something. There are a bunch of votes that weren't counted yet. And they threw out like 2,000 of the votes, but counted some of them. And it just so happened that Caban's, her opponent, won by 20 votes after they're attempting to not count like 2,000 of these votes. So it's very weird. And I may do a video on it. I mean, I will do a video on Caban. I just don't know if I'm going to wait until this whole thing plays out or if I'm going to do one on what's happening right now. So I'm still going to decide on that. Alexandra Cote. Hey, David, how many candidates will drop before the next debate? And which ones do you think will drop out? Thanks for your work. So a lot of the candidates that were in the first debate have already made it for the second debate. So the next debates are at the end of July, I believe July 27th and 28th or something like that. And it seems like most of them have made it. So I could pull up the article here from Vox. They kind of break down what you have to do to be able to get into the next debate. But it's very similar to how you got into the first debate. So a lot of them already made it. There's a potential that Mike Gravel might actually make it into the second debate. So he may be added. The only people that I think are potentially dropping out or at least won't make it into that second debate, I think one of them is Hickenlooper, of course. I mean, Hickenlooper. If you haven't yet, watch my video on Hickenlooper taking Joe Scarborough's advice, or I should say the Morning Joe Crew's advice on being for capitalism and against socialism, and how it completely destroyed his campaign after he did that. When Hickenlooper first launched his campaign, he wasn't talking about socialism. He wasn't doing any of that. But he started to do all of that after he went on Morning Joe's show. and they pretty much like scolded him for not being openly a capitalist and attacking socialism. It's amazing. Hickenlooper he's not even in the top 20 in the polls. The top 20. Hickenlooper hasn't made the top 20. So, not good advice from the Morning Joe crew. Maybe they don't have their pulse on America. Next super chat. Darren D. Thank you for the super chat. No question, but thank you for the super chat. DJ Al Gore. Marianne Williamson looked like she was high as a kite during the debate. That's just Marianne Williamson. So I don't know if I want to go into a full-on defense here of Marianne Williamson, but I like that she's different. I like that she offers something that nobody else on that stage offered, and that's this sort of a spiritual perspective. It's not even just that though. She had some actual good answers. She talked about the borders, how what's happening on the border with these camps and these children, it's child abuse, and how these are crimes that have been committed. So I like how she framed that discussion. Her talking about her bad answer. We all know her bad answer about what would she first do as president. She would call New Zealand. Even she admitted in an ABC interview afterwards that, yeah, I was just kind of nervous and I didn't give the right answer there. So she knew that was a mistake. Her answer about fighting Trump with love, I don't think she's really wrong on what she's saying. The thing is, you already have somebody on that stage that's doing that properly. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders fighting Trump with policies and language that is in support of diversity and bringing everybody together around these big proposals. Bernie's already doing that. So that's kind of her idea of fighting Trump with love in action is what Bernie's doing. So look, I like that she adds this different dynamic to the debate stage. When you have someone like Marianne Williamson on there and she appears as a kook to a lot of people, all of a sudden Bernie's ideas don't seem so crazy anymore. So that's another potential benefit there to having Marianne Williamson in these debates. But when it comes to being president, yeah, obviously, I mean, she's not going to be president. I don't support her for being for president. But her heart's in the right place, I think. She has more empathy than most people running for president ever do. So I don't see why there's a point to attack her. Actually, I'm going to share with you a funny tweet if I can find it, because it's from a week ago. I'm going to find this because it was great. It was tweeted out by Jamie of the Antifada and the Majority Report. I'm going to find it because it's like my favorite. It's my favorite Marianne Williamson tweet. Here it is. I'm going to bring myself up in a second. There we go. Let me zoom in here. What you all sound like when you hate on Queen Marianne. So, if you remember The Simpsons, this episode, you have this alien dude, which is really Mr. Burns, saying, "I bring you love." And then everybody else is like, "It's bringing love. Don't let it get away. Break its legs." That's Marianne Williamson. Marianne Williamson is like, I just want everyone, we should fight Trump with love. We should be kind. We should have a larger perspective on how to get these things passed. It's about having a larger, not even just about, specific plans and policies, but it's about, like, she mentioned JFK in one of her answers, how when JFK wanted to go to the moon, he didn't talk about the policy of going to the moon. It was about how we have this goal and we as a country are going to reach it. So that's kind of what she was trying to bring. But this this meme is my favorite. I bring you love. It's bringing love. Don't let it get away. Break its legs. That's exactly. Why hate on Marianne Williamson when she's just trying to bring us love? She's not a threat to anybody. She's not going to win this primary. Don't worry about Marianne Williamson. Let her exist. Let the people that like her continue to like her and be in this conversation. And it's important to have that perspective in. You get people that don't often follow politics, but maybe they follow Marianne Williamson, and maybe they are now into this discussion and they can see all the candidates for what they are on stage. So it brings more people into this discussion and into the conversation around this race and what's happening. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's the same kind of idea for why I cover The View as much as I do, because a lot of people get their politics from The View. I know that's scary, but it's true. So when I cover The View, I get a lot of people watching those videos who don't follow politics ever, but they'll watch some videos on YouTube about Meghan McCain or about The View. And if I take down Meghan McCain, so this is how everything I do is strategic. Understand that. When I cover Meghan McCain, usually, almost always, when I cover her, there is a political topic at hand. So I'll play Meghan McCain's dumbass argument, because they're always dumbass arguments, and then I'll systematically break down what she just said, and I'll educate people who may have just been watching The View. Now all of a sudden they're educated on this policy idea. Maybe they're educated on Medicare for All now because I just broke down Meghan McCain's bullshit on what she just said about Medicare for All. So that is why, at least that is why I cover Meghan McCain and cover shit that's said on The View, because it's a way to inform a new audience that is not aware of these issues. So just for you people out there that get angry, oh, why are you covering Meghan McCain again? There is a reason to it. It's not just because the videos get lots of views, which is also true, but it's because there is actually a purpose behind it. I'm educating people on something that they didn't know about. So that's why I do that. Let's get back here though. All right, I'm gonna go soon. So this one I'm gonna do first. I'm gonna check Twitch. I'm gonna make sure I'm up to date on my Twitch people. STD Dev 58 subbed. Thank you so much for being a sub on Twitch. Nozmiko San subbed. Thank you so much. Lots of follows here as well. All these names I cannot pronounce. Erdna Waz also subbed. Thank you so much. I think I'm caught up in the subs. Awesome. I love my little Twitch audience here. It's slowly growing. Again, if you want to become, or you want to follow me on Twitch, sometimes I'll do Twitch specific streams. Go to twitch.tv/therationalnational. Usually my Twitch specific streams, I'll be gaming, but if I have a tech issue, which sometimes I do, with YouTube, then I'll just be on Twitch. But you can check out that Twitch channel, and there's also preview streams if you want to watch any of those on there as well. So thank you so much. Let me just maybe pull a comment out of here. So somebody said, present me with logic, said, David, check my prior comments, please, and consult for a future conversation, please. Yeah, let me try to find your prior comments. Okay, so you asked a question about, is Canada willing to accept immigrants to Canada? We do all the time. In fact, Canada took in more refugees per capita from Syria than I think any other country. Definitely, not more than European countries, but more per capita than the US by far. So Canada is a country based on immigration. I mean, we are a cultural mosaic. There are all these different cultures here. Toronto, I think, is actually the diversity capital of the world. I mean, you go to Toronto, every single culture is represented in Toronto. And that's one of the, look, there's always going to be negatives all the time. And as I say anything positive about Canada, I think of all the people in my head saying, oh, but how about this? But how about this? Yes, all of the negatives are true. We are not a perfect country. No country is perfect. But in terms of accepting, being more accepting of different cultures, when you go into these areas like Toronto, it's very accepting of different cultures. So there are benefits in that sense to Canada over the US. In America, a lot of people sort of have to take in now that the American view or become Americanized when you move to the US. In Canada, we sort of almost embrace your culture, embrace where you come from, and in most ways we do, in some ways we don't. That's another conversation. But there is definitely, when it comes to Canada accepting immigrants, we do. I mean, my mom's an immigrant. Most people that I know of, their parents came here from somewhere else. All right, I'm gonna try to pull out one more comment from Twitch. Sandbox Troll. Who would in general be the best vice president ever? Who of maybe those 24 candidates could be the first best VP ever, and why? When it comes to picking the best VP ever, that's a hard question. I mean, out of those candidates, who would be the best it depends who the VP is. Bernie Sanders would be the best VP ever if he was the VP, but I prefer him as president. Yeah, that's a weird question. I'm sorry. I don't know how to answer that. We'd have to, again, it's all about, like, I try not to make predictions. I try to more make educated guesses if I think something may happen down the line. So there is no evidence I can look at right now to say that person will be the best VP ever. Okay. All of you are so awesome on Twitch. Thank you. Again, when I have a Twitch exclusive stream, I'll be able to have a real conversation with you. But it's kind of tough when I'm juggling all these communities. All right. Going to refresh my super chats and answer the last ones. Eric Isaac. Bullhorns. Great tool for reaching out to the people. I don't know what that is. Kaza Station. Why don't you like Andrew Yang? Thanks. I just don't. It's the same question like with Tulsi. He's not in the top 5 right now. And I'm not CNN, so I don't have the power to be able to shift an entire conversation around a candidate. Andrew Yang, I don't like his UBI. He's libertarian. That's why I don't like Andrew Yang. And that's right now, all he's talking about is his UBI. I mean, what's Andrew Yang's foreign policy? It's probably on his website, on his page, but unless he's in the top 5, why am I going to dig into this shit? So he's just not in the conversation. There are so many candidates right now that it's like, why am I going to focus? When I produce 2 videos a day, which is kind of my limit as an individual doing everything here, I have to be able to narrow my focus. So I can't have this broad focus looking at all 24 candidates. I'm going to narrow it to what the discussion currently is. So Andrew Yang is just not in the discussion for me. He's not that interesting. He is a libertarian running as a Democratic candidate. Eric Isaac, the Iowa poll is BS. Which Iowa poll? I don't know that one. Excuse me. Raleigh. Talk about failing candidate Williamson, but not Tulsi? Pointless in your words. Super frustrating, hypocritical. Do you see any videos on my channel about Marianne Williamson? No. So I don't know what you're talking about. You mean in this live conversation? All right. I talked about Tulsi like 20 times already. Because Williamson does add something to the conversation. Something different that neither Tulsi or anybody else really represents on that stage. But I'm not doing videos about Marianne Williamson, if you've noticed. I've done videos about Tulsi. So it's not hypocritical. All right. But thank you for the super chat. Very kind of you. Just going to refresh one more time. All right. Done with the super chats. Done. No more coming in. All right. I'm going to get off soon. All right. I think that's it. Yeah. Just every time I quit a stream, YouTube screws up, Twitch screws up, something goes wrong, but I'll do it right this time. One more super chat came in. Okay, I'm going to take yours because I just saw it pop up. Conquering Thought, Bernie was less than 1% before people started talking. That's why. That was a race against one person. That's a completely different race than right now. So, yeah, at the beginning in 2015, there were like, what, 5 people? There was Hillary, Bernie, Lincoln Chafee, the guy that killed somebody in Vietnam, and like somebody else, O'Malley. That race quickly dwindled down to 2. It's a very different conversation. And when you have somebody like Bernie who has the record that he had and was as clearly was so on the face different in terms of what he was offering than what Hillary Clinton was offering, it's a completely different dynamic. So yeah, in that race, obviously, where are we going to talk about Bernie Sanders? Because he was the guy going up, the only person going up against Hillary Clinton. So it's just a different dynamic. In this race now, I support Bernie. I think everyone should be supporting Bernie if you want left policy to actually get pushed through. There's no other conversation to have here. We can talk about these other candidates, where they may be able to be placed in terms of a administration or down the line. But again, that conversation isn't what's happening right now. The conversation right now is about this primary. And there is clearly a top 5. The top 5 of Biden, Bernie, Kamala Harris, Warren, and Buttigieg. That's the top 5 right now. So until we take down Biden and Kamala Harris, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be dividing the left. But that's it. All right. Thank you so much for someone said my hair is always perfect. I didn't even do anything. I think it's like frizzy today. I don't know. But yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. And I'll be back maybe sometime in the future for a live stream. Maybe I'll do a Twitch live stream this weekend. Play a game or something. I don't know. But thanks for watching. Goodbye.